I am a believer in studying abroad. For one, it changed my life, looking for countries that I've never been to because I want to explore those different opportunities. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you find a reason to stay. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me on this other video. Today, I'm in the office again. It's a Saturday. I'm an academic advisor and academic living in Hong Kong. On this channel, I talk about study abroad. I talk about all things building and growing your academic career in the interest of supporting those who might want to start their academic career, whether it's starting your master's, your PhD, and if you're interested in getting into an academic job. I plan to also do videos to talk about how you can sustain and grow in your academic career. So welcome, particularly if you're interested in studying abroad. Make sure you watch until the end for a free resource that you will need. I am going to talk about why should you study abroad? What is the benefit of studying abroad? I want to share from my own personal experience of studying abroad. My first experience of studying abroad was when I was 19 years old, and I was moving from my home country to South Africa for my first degree. I was only 19 years old. So my first point why you should study abroad is that it changes you literally. It changes you into a completely different person. It broadens your worldview in so many ways. And if you're sitting there wondering, is study abroad even for me? Is this something that I might want to do? Maybe you've never even left your home country. I'm from a small town in Zimbabwe, but I was able to leave that small town, leave my family, and go to a completely new country where I knew one and started from scratch. So that grows you as an individual, and that's my first point. Studying abroad is going to grow you as an individual. How? You might be wondering, how will I grow just by studying abroad? First of all, you're getting immersed into a different culture. You're getting immersed into a different environment. Just that experience is going to stretch you so much that everything that you thought you knew is going to be tested. Remember, if you're coming from your own country, you're used to a certain way of doing things. You're used to a certain way of being, your culture, your dress, everything, even food, even the way you talk to people. I shared in my previous video about how even small things like greeting here in another country, like in Hong Kong, people here do not greet. And in my culture, we're used to people that greet in the public transport. Everyone is talking to everyone. In Hong Kong, that was a culture shock for me to find out that no one talks to anyone. Everyone is glued to their phones. And if you talk to someone, they look at you like, are you crazy? Why are you trying to talk to me? Right? So that difference, that shift in the way you used to do things will really shape you as an individual, because first of all, you learn tolerance for other people. You learn tolerance for differences. You actually realize I was living in a little bubble because there's so many ways, there's so many people that do life in a completely different way, and I need to accept that there are different people. My way of thinking is not the only way there is. And what is the advantage of that? You might be thinking, why do I even need to understand other people? We live in a global village now. We live in a world where we are learning to tolerate and live with other people because we are more connected than ever. So imagine if you're intolerant. Imagine if you're ignorant of other people. That is how racism and discrimination actually begin. Right? So when you are immersed in a completely different culture, in a new way of life, if you're open to learning and tolerant of others, you will actually become a better human being. Point number 2, why should you study abroad? So first of all, I shared how it will stretch you. It's an experience that is going to stretch you in ways that you never would have thought about, which is a good thing, right? So it is a challenge. So point number 2, I want to share that studying abroad broadens your worldview. And the advantage of broadening your worldview is that not only do you become a more interesting person, a person that can make conversations with others because you have been exposed to many different things. you make interesting conversation, right? You have a broader mindset, you have a broader worldview just by virtue of experiencing a completely different environment, a new different culture. If you're interested in trying new languages, you're going to be learning this while you're there. It doesn't matter if you spend 1 month overseas, that is going to change you in some way. It doesn't matter if you spend a year, if you spend 5 years, right? It depends with the kind of person that you are. But studying abroad really opens you up to a broader worldview. Again, it connects with my first point that if you've been used to a small place, you only grew up in your small little town and that's all you know. Imagine how open your mind is going to be when you go to a completely different continent, to a completely different country. You start to realize that what I thought I knew about the world was very limited. So you now have a broader way of thinking about things and life. And what is the advantage of that? To have conversations that are interesting, because imagine it comes up and people are talking about traveling and you're like, I've been there, I've been to that country. Now you have something different to share. Number two, you write better. If you're into writing, anything that you're going to write, especially if you're into storytelling, imagine if you're now including your experiences of studying abroad. That's going to make you different and stand out from someone that has a very limited worldview, because now you've been exposed to something else. You've added an extra layer to your life that's going to make it interesting to write about, to talk about, right? And three, it makes you stand out. Most people do their masters or PhD, but particularly masters, most people do their masters with the intention of maybe getting a better job, right? So you move from your bachelor's and you're like, okay, I need to get promoted or I need to find a better paying job. So that's the reason why you're doing your master's. So you want to stand out. You want your CV to be interesting. You want your CV to show that you've had some kind of experience. Study abroad gives you international exposure that is going to contribute to your CV. And trust me, you being compared to someone who has never left your country, if you have added international experience, chances are in most cases you're going to stand out better than that candidate in an interview. I trust and I believe that you will definitely stand out. So it broadens your worldview. You learn to see the world with different eyes and you actually stand out, because that international experience, whether it's a month, whether it's a few months, whether it's just a semester, or it's a year abroad, it's going to make you stand out just by virtue of the experience and the stories that you can tell from your experience. Another thing that is connected to that, number three, cultural communication. And what do I mean by that? In the globalized world that we live in, it's very important to learn how to interact with people from diverse backgrounds. It's very important to understand that the world has become very diverse. Due to migration, we are exposed to so many different people who were raised in a very different background, different cultures, different religion. They eat different food. They do everything differently. Cultural communication is the ability to be in a different environment and culture and be able to take on what is in that culture without making it change you or anything, but you can actually bring out your own culture and share your own culture. You're able to survive and adapt to a different cultural environment. And through communication and interaction with cultural differences, again, you grow as an individual. You become a more rounded human being because you have learned the art of cultural communication. A lot of people take it for granted and maybe feel that it might not be that important. But I'm here to tell you that cultural communication is the future, because right now, if you're able to live in any environment, to adapt to any environment, you are in a better place than someone who can only live in one place in the world, right? Cultural communication is also about understanding universal things, like, for example, language, right? You might go to a place where you realize that English is not as universal as you thought. There are places that do not speak a word of English. And if English is the only language that you've been taught to communicate in, what are you going to do? You have to adapt. So some people then are forced to learn the language of that place because there's definitely know English where they are. So study abroad provides you with that opportunity to expand your cultural repertoire, because then you are stretching yourself, you are stretching the limits of your mindset, and that way you really grow as an individual. So all my points, I'm realizing that they're tied to this idea of growth. They're tied to this idea of personal growth, cultural growth, and all round, just human development that comes from study abroad. I might be stretching this because I am a believer in studying abroad. For one, it changed my life. Different cultures, I'm able to even get into conversations with people that have lived in Europe. I can get into conversations with people that have lived in Asia now that I myself have been exposed to that. I also feel that my CV became much stronger with my experiences of studying abroad. And literally, it took away the fear for me, right? It took away the fear of applying for certain jobs. Right now, if I see a job, I'm going to go for it, because I believe that I've strengthened my CV so much that I do not have to be afraid to apply for a job in the US, a job in Canada, a job in Australia. I'm actually looking for countries that I've never been to, because I want to explore those different opportunities and become, if you've heard of this term, a global citizen. You can actually become a global citizen, and you can begin your journey by studying abroad. That's one of the ways you can become a global citizen. And if you've been sitting there wondering, should I even study abroad? Do I need to do this? Yes, you do. It is a life-changing experience. It is life-changing. There's very few experiences in life that will change you as a person than studying abroad. Take it from me. I have done that. So I think connected to that last point is studying abroad, it makes you competitive. I think that's point number 4. Again, linking to the idea of your CV, and I think I've mentioned that you do stand out as compared to, someone that has never left, because again, it's tied to your worldview. It's tied to the way you think about things. You are going to now figure out that the way things are done in other places is very different from the way things are done in my place. So for example, if you're trying to create solutions to problems in my job, in my work, which is sociology and social policy, the key aim is to find solutions to the pressing social problems in our world, right? So how do you find the solutions to the pressing world problems if you only know local solutions? So the idea is that you're now exposed to many different ways of doing things. If you go to one country, they're probably, like China, for example, they're using AI in so many different ways. They're using technology in so many different ways, right? Not only AI, but different forms of technology that they're using even in the house, in the household sense, so many uses of technology that maybe in your home country you've never even considered that could be possible. In China, they're already using robots to serve them food. They're using drones to deliver food, like takeaway, So things like that. It's really amazing how when you travel to a new place, it opens up different ways of doing things, and you can learn different ways of doing things through that. Because then you see it in real life that, okay, this is how they are doing their roads. This is how they clean up their city. If you've been to Japan, if you've been even Hong Kong, I think it is one of the cleanest places I've ever been. You do not see the street littered. They actually have notices everywhere that, speak against littering. And then you're coming from a country where, there's rubbish everywhere. You get to see, okay, this is possible. I can actually bring a cleaning initiative to my community, because you've seen it happening. You have seen how other places have done it. Trust me, it's not just through study abroad. It's not just through, you can also do that by traveling, right? General traveling. But I'm talking about it in the context of study abroad, because then it gives you an opportunity to travel to a new place and probably stay there for a period longer than a month. So during that time, imagine how much you're going to learn. Imagine how much you're going that will contribute to your thinking about the social problems in your own country or in your own little community where you come from. So think about it in that way. If I get a chance to travel abroad, and the easiest way arguably is by studying getting your study permit and going to study. I think that's one of the ways through which you can live in another country, right? As a student, that is how I got exposed to many different countries that I've now lived in through study. And by doing that, you get to see how other people solve, social problems, how they deal with certain things, and you take that. Most scholarships, for example, require you to go back to your home country after you finish. Then you take that knowledge and you can be able to translate the knowledge that you had and transfer it into your own local community. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I recommend study abroad. Okay, I've got one last point. I think I had said 5. I've got one last point. Why should you study abroad? The opportunity to meet people that you might have never met on a normal day. And I think this speaks to the idea that, it allows you to grow even your social life. It allows you to grow even your network. If I had never studied abroad, where was I ever going to meet my best friend, one of my best friends who is from Nigeria? Where was I going to meet her? We were able to meet because we were studying together. So if you become an international student, chances are high you're going to become friends with other international students. Through that, you're going to become friends with people that grew up in a completely different world, completely different life from you, and through that they get to share their life experiences with you, and you get to realize that we are all just one big happy family. We were just born in different countries. I got to meet friends from Nigeria, from Ghana, friends from Russia. I've met people even from China, which is close by, when I was studying here in Hong Kong. I've met Irish people, right? So it really opens up, because now if you stay in your country, when are you ever going to meet people from different places? Unless your place is one of those busy tourist places, chances are high that you're not going to meet people from many different countries that often. But if you study abroad and you get to meet an international student community, you are going to make many new friends, and you don't know where those friendships are going to take you. I've built a very strong network with people from many different places, and this has also allowed me to plan my future trips, because now I go to places where my friends live, and I go and visit them in their home countries. If you're working on a scholarship application or your application to study abroad and you're struggling or you need some help, please contact me on the details provided in the description box. If you need a mentor to guide you through your scholarship application, also use the link in the description box for more information on how you can find a mentor for yourself. Thank you so much for watching.